Pokemon Sword and Pokemon Shield are the latest entries in the Pokemon series. These games are Pokemon creator Game Freak's first dive into a Pokemon console game. With the new Galar region, new Pokemon, and a whole new story, was it all enough to make this a great entry in the Pokemon series? Let's find out. The story in Pokemon Sword and Shield starts off interesting, reminding me of the better storytelling that was introduced in Pokemon Sun and Moon. The game starts with a discussion of the Pokemon world, as with all Pokemon games, but this one has a few things done differently. As with other Pokemon games, you get your first Pokemon and begin your journey to defeating the 8 gym leaders and becoming the Pokemon champion. You have rivals such as the never giving up Hop, the arrogant Bede, and Marnie. I will say that the champion of Galar, Leon, is more present in the game's story compared to past champions. Sonia, the professor's assistant, will also be present throughout your journey in this game. Of course, I have avoided spoilers, but there is not much to this game's story, sadly. The story in Pokemon Sword and Shield is not very good. In fact, it feels like there is a lack of story at points. Within recent years, the Pokemon franchise has changed from more dynamic animation in the anime to completely changing how they write the movies or adding more story into the games. For whatever reason, the story in Pokemon Sword and Shield is not that strong. At points, it feels like the story is going on while you are going on your own journey, but you are not involved in those story conflicts. That's okay for a TV show, but for a video game, it should be more involved with the main character. Your main rival Hop is probably the trainer you fight the most in the entirety of the Pokemon franchise. I cannot stress how much you fight Hop in this game. I don't mind it, but it is something to point out. You fight Hop a lot because of story purposes. These story purposes are not super deep and could be better, but above all, I am thankful that they are there. Bede suffers a similar fate to Hop. There could be more story with this character, but I definitely like what's there with Bede compared to the other characters. Originally, I thought Bede had more of a story, but Hop definitely takes the cake with this one. Bede is the most interesting out of the rivals, I would say. Marnie is Marnie. Marnie is meant to be a rival, but does not feel like one at all. The character is just underdeveloped, and I don't understand her purpose in the game. It's like they wanted to do something with her, but Hop and Bede just stole the show from her. If there were to ever be a remake or a sequel to Pokemon Sword and Shield, Hop and Bede could be expanded on, but Marnie needs a lot more work. I thought Leon was a cool character, and I like how present he was in the story. Leon feels like a champion, he feels strong, he feels important. If there's something going on, he will handle it, and I like that. It feels realistic in the sense of the Pokemon world. Why would the main character take on every threat when there are strong trainers from the gym leaders to the champion? Finally, Sonia feels more like the professor compared to Professor Magnolia. It's a weird situation that makes more sense after playing the game. It's nice having Sonia around, but I would have liked more from Professor Magnolia. I like the focus on a small cast of characters in Pokemon Sword and Shield. In other Pokemon games, characters come and go, excluding the rivals, evil team, and the champion. But the Pokemon Sword and Shield characters all have their own traits, personalities, and character development. They're starting to feel a little more realistic and broad. Characters like gym leaders are involved in the game's story, but almost not enough. Team Yell is pointless, and it's starting to feel like they're phasing out the evil team narrative. They're like Team Skull, whom I like, but worse in every sense. The evil team does not have to be a part of the main conflict in the game, but they definitely need to have something going on, and there is nothing going on with Team Yell. The graphics in Pokemon Sword and Shield look good to me, and sometimes they can look beautiful. Gameplay wise, it is Pokemon. There are less Pokemon than before due to Game Freak not including them for balancing issues. Battle moves and abilities are also cut down for Pokemon Sword and Shield. Pokemon Sword and Shield only has 81 new Pokemon and 13 regional variants. It seems like they're really trying hard to not hit 1,000 Pokemon. While the new Pokemon designs are strong, I do wish there were more new Pokemon. Dynamaxing and Gigantamaxing are new gameplay mechanics for Pokemon Sword and Shield. The new mechanics feel like a mix of Mega Evolutions and Z moves, but with more balancing. When Dynamaxing or Gigantamaxing, Pokemon can grow in size, and all their moves shift to powered up versions. Gigantamaxing is just Dynamaxing with a unique form for the Pokemon. Only a few of them have it, and most of them are story relevant. I usually wait till the very end of a battle to Dynamax. That's how the game uses it too, but I hope there are more unique uses for it. The effects of Dynamaxing and Gigantamaxing are balanced because they only last for 3 turns. For a new mechanic, it's not used in the story that much. The wild area is a large area that allows you to catch low-level to high-level Pokemon and look for wells that contain Dynamaxed or Gigantamaxed Pokemon. You fight with 3 other players against these giant Pokemon. Some of these battles can be really difficult, and due to the game's badly designed online, you might not even find someone to play with. Instead of having potential Pokemon you can catch with others as a list, you have to find the well in the game and wait for other players to join. In my opinion, a list would have been a better idea. It's difficult to even join friends because the game has a refresh button that comes and goes instead of the game constantly updating. The wild area can be laggy if you decide to go online while there. You can see some of the other players online, but you can't interact with them outside of getting free items for talking to them. The wild area needs work. It needs a lot of work. Pokemon Camp is an okay feature that allows you to play with Pokemon and cook food to heal up. I did not use it very often. I've also seen a screenshot of meeting Pokemon at the Pokemon campsite and them joining your team, so that's also there. Your characters can wear clothes again, which is a cool feature. I like dressing my character up, but I do wish there were even more clothing options. The bike has returned to Pokemon. I prefer the bike over riding Pokemon any day. The bike can now surf on water, and I hope this becomes a staple for the series. You don't have to change the game each time, Game Freak. You can leave features in there. Flying is back and better than ever. It's very quick and snappy. This is also an improvement over Ride Pokemon. The game has a lot of buildings that are huge, but you can't explore them, or you can explore small parts of them. It's weird and could use some work. The game is too easy. As with recent Pokemon games, it has lost most of its difficulty. This hurts the game because Sword and Shield is a cakewalk for the most part. The battles are easy, the game offers too many ways for the player to level up early on. I catch every new Pokemon I see. The wild area has a lot of Pokemon and you can gain experience for catching all of them. At some point I became over-leveled and I did not fight random Pokemon usually, I just catch them. The EXP share is always on in Pokemon Sword and Shield and there is no way to turn it off. The game is apparently adjusted for it, but not enough. I think trainer levels should increase based on the levels of your Pokemon. The quote-unquote dungeons are too short. I think Game Freak needs to take a look at their older games to see how to do dungeons and difficulty in their current games. I think Game Freak has reached their limit on what they can do with text. Pokemon Sword and Shield needs voice acting. There's literally a scene in the game where someone is singing and it's all done from text. If they wanted to do no voice acting but just a little bit for this scene, that would have been fine. But characters like Hop, Bede, and Marnie talk too much during the battles for there not to be voice acting in the game. It's not that hard to do. Dub the game in Japanese and English. Do subtitles for other regions. The online in the game is absolutely terrible and the worst aspect of the game. Sword and Shield carries over the online system from Pokemon Let's Go, in which you used an assortment of Pokemon faces to determine who you'd battle or trade with. In Sword and Shield, you use numbers to do this. You cannot directly trade or battle with your friends. Everything is done through a code. The game has a list of what people are currently doing online, and it sometimes works where you can join someone for a trade, battle, or max raid battle, but it's not perfect at all. The list does not always update and needs to be refreshed manually. You often have to take your in-game character to max raid battles instead of just having a list that you can always access while online. The quote-unquote list in its current state is just not good. The online system needs a complete overhaul and is inexcusable in its current state. One area of praise that I really have to highlight with these games is the art. The trainers look great and the Pokemon look great. I tried to avoid spoilers as much as I could, so it was very exciting seeing the new Pokemon for the first time, and I think that really added to my enjoyment of this game. I usually pick Pokemon based on how much I like their designs, and there were so many well-designed Pokemon that I wanted to use them all. I was constantly changing my team, which is something I never do in a Pokemon game. Sure, you have the Pokemon that you have there just because, but after a while, you get a team settled on. I was still changing my team towards the end of the game. Even some of the older Pokemon designs have been changed, like with Pokemon Sun and Moon, and this is taken even further by giving these Pokemon brand new evolutions. Game Freak said they did not include all of the Pokemon due to balancing issues. I understand where they're coming from, but I do think all of the Pokemon should have been there. I do not use all the Pokemon. I do not battle competitively. I just wanted to see my old Pokemon in Sword and Shield. I wanted to use them in battles with friends. I try to use the new Pokemon whenever I can in new games, but sometimes I use Pokemon from older generations. I had an Axew on my team for Pokemon Sword and Shield. Pokemon is the best-selling franchise in the world, and I think they could have hired more people to design the Pokemon models if that was the issue. They could have hired someone to help with communication if they needed to expand their team. There are 400 Pokemon in Pokemon Sword and Shield, which I hope means they can add another 200 or 300 in the next game or next generation. But above all, I would just like to see them all. Pokemon Sword and Shield is not a bad game, but it is also not a great game. A common thing with changes made in this game and other games are that they're just baby steps. Game Freak is getting closer to a big RPG with an entertaining story, but their path to greatness does not seem like a straight line. The story in the game is a departure from Pokemon Sun and Moon, which has the best story in the series to date. Sword and Shield does not have enough story. The characters in this game are good, but could be better. Having a small cast of characters to focus on was a good decision. I do wish other characters got focused though. I would argue that Game Freak should let you switch between characters in future titles to effectively cover the story of what each character is going through. There are new Pokemon that look great, but there's only 81 new Pokemon. The post-game is more necessary than previous games, but does not open up the world further. There is not a lot to do in the post-game at all. The lack of voice acting led to some awkward scenes because characters have lines that are meant to be spoken. The character designs and Pokemon designs are the strongest aspect of the game. Game Freak is slowly moving towards a better Pokemon game, but they are just not there yet. Even with that, I found Pokemon Sword and Shield addicting to play, and I would like to replay it, which is something I never do with Pokemon games. So what did you think about Pokemon Sword and Shield? Did all the Pokemon not being in the game affect your purchase in some way? Anyways, that's it for me. Thank you for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. If you like my content and want to see more, be sure to subscribe. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter and like me on Facebook. The links are below. I'm Surmo11. See you next time, and peace out.